nigga. I don't hear that. I hear straight up hood rat type of style, like nigga.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, who are you talking to? I just felt a little bit of wetness there. She licked my hand. And then she went blah, 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 and she said something in Chinese. So I asked the coordinator that was with us. I was like, what did she say? She said, I'm so sorry. She's like, she thought you were chocolate. I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, she said you don't taste like chocolate. I was like, so here I was just like, they're like, hey, you could just buy a Easy card and you could go anywhere. And I thought it was a lie. So every time I hit it was like, you know, like, it's like, it works. Yeah, I was just like, You have to throw out your old culture and bring in the new and even mesh it together.
Right.
Like I celebrate Christmas and Chinese New Year. There's no way in hex I'm taking out Chinese New Year after this. I'm just like red packet, hot pot. I'm known now by just my blackness in the classroom because it's Asia. Yeah, most of my students, when they walk into the classroom, it's like, whoa. It's like, yeah, I was born like this. Yeah. I was born black.
All right, welcome back, guys, to FUNDAY Chat. I'm Wade. I'm your host for this program, and today we have a special guest. This connection is through SALT. If you've watched our previous episode, I've talked to one of the founders, James, and through SALT, I got to meet Ms.K. And Ms.K. is she has a master's in education. She has over 15 years of experience in teaching. That's a long time. And she's one of our SALT Core Plus members. And she's also actually an author of a book called Gold Journal. Yeah. My bad. Gold Journal. And it's a motivational book for children. And so welcome, Ms.K, to FUNDAY Chat.
Hi. I am so happy to be here.
Yes. Okay, so to start off first, actually, Ms.K, right? And
yes.
I've tried to pronounce your name, and I get why you go by Ms.K now.
Yes, it's very complicated. Life is too short.
Can you please?
So it's Kettelene Eloise. So it is French because I'm of Haitian descent.
Okay.
So because the French colonized, and so did the Spanish, after we got our independence in 1804, we kind of just meshed everything together. It's a hotmess.com, to which my parents geared more towards the French and
side,
so my dad spoke French.
Wow.
So he heard the name Caitlin, and he changed it to be Frenchy to Kettelene.
Kettelene.
Yes.
That's the French.
Yes, that's the French version of it, apparently.
Very cool.
And now nobody can pronounce it that's American or any other person that's non-French.
Hence, you go by Ms.K?
Yes.
Okay. I like Ms.K.
I like it too. It's short.
Short and easy to remember.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so Ms.K, can you first maybe give us a little bit of just your background? You have mentioned that you're Haitian American.
Yes.
By descent, but...
So I was actually born in a shack in Haiti, like literally, not a hospital. Yeah, my auntie caught me. Nice.
Whoa.
She, just popped out.
Okay.
So on an island called Kaimit off of the coast.
Okay.
And then my father, around 6.5, 7 years old, the coup happened in 92.
Okay.
In Haiti, the whole Aristide, he sided with the government. And then they tried to kill him a little bit. Okay. And so they decided it's called Point Kante. That means they flee the country. Okay. So we got on a boat, It wasn't Gilligan's Island type of thing.
You were a baby?
No, I was about 6 years old at the time. Oh. And then so we fled the country on a boat, They're like, we're going to go out. It's like, yeah, we're going to boat ride. A whole bunch of Haitians and, just like, I wonder why all these people, I was 6.5 going on 7. Yeah. So we got on the boat. My mom at the time, she has dreams, so she just felt like she needed to leave my sister behind. So one of my siblings had to be left behind because she was just born. She had this dream that a child died on the boat. So she's like, to her mom, like,
not going to be my baby.
Not my baby. So she left my sister with my grandmom. And my mom, myself, my 2 brothers, my dad, we fled the country. Coast Guard got us, was in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, for about a couple of months, they said. I felt like it was years. That comes from my background of teaching. There's a connection there. To which, like, I was an immigrant child, and I'll never forget thinking, the teacher, for the first time that I met, I just thought her teeth were, and her mouth was very big. Because she literally shouted, because I was nonverbal,
right.
New country, new people, adjusting. So I remember getting to the school and meeting, going through the whole process of filling out the paperwork. Then they walked me over to my, I guess, would have been like 2nd grade class. And she just walked up to me. She said, hello. And I was just like.
What big mouth?
I was like, her teeth in her mouth, are all the teachers this loud? That set trauma in me. I was like, if ever I have to teach, I will not be that teacher that I'm remembered by my mouth. And like,
and are you?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
I'm
okay.
known now by just my blackness in the classroom because it's Asia.
Yeah,
so it's
true.
a different. Most of my students when they walk into the classroom, it's like, whoa, it's like, yeah, I was born like this.
Yeah.
I was born black.
Yeah.
Welcome
well,
to
so
Ms.K's
actually
class.
talking about that, the icebreaker I kind of want to start us off with is, what's probably the funniest thing that a child or student has ever said to you?
Well, there's I would do like you said, I'm part of the core team, so I write out the curriculum for the orphanages and our church Bread of Life. Also do every 3 months we visit UDA is the orphanage. We do SOS and also Holy Ward. And sometimes they do presentations. So I primarily focus on the little babies. I call her my sassy girl.
Okay.
This was in our first session. I think when me and Ms. Giddens, Michaela, who speaks multiple languages, she does the translation while I do the presentation.
Yes.
And we switch up roles. So after we finish with the students and teaching the lesson, we have activities to which we kind of just break out into small groups with them, interact with them, get to know them. And as I was helping her color, I went to go pick up a marker and my other hand was there. I just felt a little bit of wetness there. And I looked, she licked my hand.
Oh.
Yeah.
The girl licked your hand.
And I just thought, that's different. And then
never had that experience
and
before.
then she went blah, 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 and she said something in Chinese. So I asked the coordinator that was with us, I was like, what did she say? She said, I'm so sorry. She's like, she thought you were chocolate. I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, she said you don't taste like chocolate. I was like, I wasn't offended because she's like 4.5, 5 years old. To which I was just kind of like thrown aback. And then there's a random word in high school where they're kind of throw out nigga out there. So having lived in China, when I first heard it, I'm from the hood.
Hold up. She's saying nigga.
Nigga.
Like that in Mandarin.
Like that, yeah. But
which actually, honestly though, for all my audience that are not so well acquainted, we need to differentiate the pronunciation of this word. And just for safety's sake, don't say that in Mandarin, which is nigga. To an African person because you could find yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yes.
Right? But sorry.
That was my
continue.
first year teaching because I lived in China first.
Okay.
So when I heard it, we were actually doing the whole Anne Frank thing. I think that's what triggered it because we would stop the hate campaign.
Yes.
And so after that, we would go into figurative language because I taught English in China, which also I made them like break down like Tupac Shakur's songs and stuff like that. So we were right there into the transitioning of that. So I think that kind of triggered it already, listen to Dear Mama and other stuff. And, I just heard in the classrooms, like, the way you said it, but
nigga.
In me, I heard nigga straight up. So I just like, hey, don't use that word. And they were like, Ms.K, like, no, we don't use this. It's that. And I was like, no, it's not. And then I was like, wait, yeah, it is. So I was like, I apologize.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, like the assimilation process into teaching in Asia can be quite, the things that hit you, they hit you different and fast.
Yes.
So you have
much.
to learn to adjust your way of thinking and be very open-minded.
Yeah.
Because getting hit with, how you say it,
nigga.
I don't hear that. I hear straight up hood rat type of style, like nigga.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
That's my response.
Yeah. So I think it's so interesting, just the cultural differences, and it's so important. When you're not aware, you're just like, what do you mean? I'm just saying that. Like, why would the word that mean something so different to you? So it's good that the more exposure, the more we learn, the more we know.
Yeah.
So let me get into some of your backstory, which you sort of covered some, but what do you think is your real motivation for becoming a teacher?
Part of it has to do, like I said, having come from an immigrant family, especially being born and partially raised in Haiti. We moved out of Haiti, but Haiti didn't move out of us. There's called the 3 L's in the Haitian culture, which is l'église, l'école, la caille. That means school, church, and home. We call them the 3 L's.
Okay.
Education is fundamental. It was always pushed by my family, especially my dad, who was a professor at a very young age. Wow. Most of my family are teachers or educators in some way, shape, or form. And it was really stressed, like, get good grades, make sure you are meeting the family expectations is what we would call them. But it was a cultural thing as well, which I think also helped me transition into Asia so well. Because they kind of have that same mindset of stressing education. But I remember being in Sunday school, and about 12, I got baptized. So I'm a Christian. I got baptized at the age of 13. My pastor had always seen a gifting of teaching in me, period. I just loved to read. I mean, I would go through 5 National Geographics. I remember he gave me a lesson that's supposed to be 6 months. I finished it in a week. And so he was just kind of
gifting.
He's like, hey, do you want to teach Sunday school? I was like, no, I don't want to teach anybody else's bad kids. That's babysitting. And he's just like, well, you're going to do it anyways.
Okay.
So they went on their annual cruise, and I ended up substituting for 2 Sundays, and the kids wanted me back. They were like, we want Kettelene back. They call me Kettelene is my nickname. And I was just like, no, I don't want to teach.
And did you not enjoy it, or?
I did, but I didn't want to do it. I had to study before.
Sure.
And it became like a chore to me. That's what I felt like at the time. And so my pastor was like, okay, next trip you're doing it again. I was just like, so this became an annual thing. I believe he saw the gifting in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. I actually wanted to be a lawyer like my dad was wanting to be, not because I actually was passionate about it. I was just told.
I see.
And so I do have 4 degrees for that reason.
Wow.
To which my bachelor's is in political science, and I double majored in history. Wow. And then in high school, I was a little bit bored, so I got my associates in travel and tourism and hospitality because I thought I wanted to travel the world.
Which you kind of doing, right?
But you don't get paid for it. You can thank God I have teaching, right? So I got all these degrees and accumulated them, and I'm only using one. All the rest are freezing over.
Okay.
But not really.
I'm sure they all apply, right?
They do, because now I do teach history at Kang Chiao International School. So that all played its role. I think God worked everything out for good. Yeah. To which I can teach English, I can teach history, and anything that's based on government, which is what most international schools look for in Asia. So it worked out for good, but I think a lot of it stemmed from just that motivation from people around me. And also when I taught and explained things, people grasp it. They're like, hey, you made it fun. Because I'm that type of learner that I can't sit still. For a long time. Same. I need, if not, I'll start fidgeting and doing things. So within the classroom, my classroom is very innovative like that, where I try to get kinesthetic learners, musical learners. You'll hear music playing at the same time. They will probably, my students were going to sleep. I was like, oh, we're about to take a walk around the track. And you have a A-B conversation about the whole thing of Holocaust and whether or not you would be comfortable if you were a Jewish person in the U.S. And if you could do anything to stop it, what action would you take? Wow. So they walked around, they came back, and then we shared out. Because I'm like, you can't. It was lunchtime, it was raining, and I know they ate carbs. So I'm like, let's just walk out. You're going to diet out.
No, that's great. So mental, physical, spiritual, it's such a good exercise. So
I adjust my lessons in my classrooms according to such. And I did that all my life, where I was if I'm bored, if I'm teaching, I notice my students are bored, I would just shift. Or I tutored, I was a graduate assistant. When I tutored, I would adjust a lesson based on, I had baseball players, literally they would just sit there, just stare at me in my eyeballs. I was like, do you want to just play eyeball games, or we're going to get this done? And I learned, and I learned quickly. I was like, wait, they need flashcards. They can't use books. They need flashcards. So it came where throughout my life, I was just doing it. But I didn't realize it was a gifting and a calling till my 20s, when I was living my best non-life.
Well, that's incredible, to see the innovative way that you're teaching, because I definitely recognize as a kid, similar to you, couldn't really sit still. But I think nowadays people are recognizing the difference in approach and how, majority of kids are not going to function exactly the same way, right? So switching it up and mixing it up, for some learners, it would be more retainable and better for them. And that's good that those things are being incorporated. All right. So, what sort of brought you to Taiwan specifically? I know you mentioned that you were first in China, but maybe just in general, what kind of drew you to Asia in the first place?
God.
Okay. Simple answer.
I kind of just threw, just
a dart at the map.
And then so I went online, And then my sister was behind me. It was like an afternoon after work because I worked at a non-for-profit at the time, and I was also teaching at an inner city school. I was a reading interventionist because I always wanted to go back to give to the community. Yeah. So I was pretty settled in my profession. I was well known. I had the 67% gains of reading at the time in the Miami-Dade County area. I was tutoring for what was called the FCAT. And so I had pretty good reputation, and I was doing well for myself. Yeah. So, I was able to buy a small little condo right near Pro Player Stadium because I love sports. Okay. So, like, the football stadium was 20 minutes away. Basketball, 15. Wow. Heaven. So I was very comfortable spot. Very comfortable, but not purposeful. Yeah. It was not where I was supposed to be. Wow. It felt like it. Okay. Everything looked good on the outside. On paper, but I was burning out a lot. Was one thing. And on top of that, I was not really happy. I was kind of putting on a show. I felt like, especially in the school system, I was advocating for my students a lot. I was one of the only certified, because my master's is specialization in English as a second language and ELL in regular English, to which with my master's in certification, I can be pulled out of any school that I'm at the next year and put into a school because it was Title I. That means they're marginalized, struggling. So I had the ability to teach a new student how to read English and assimilate into the culture. With my background and my degree, I would be put at a different school at different times. Right. That also would burn me out more because I would need a new curriculum, a new atmosphere. So I got really tired of doing that as well. Yeah. And so when I went online by faith, I kind of was clicking, and my sister was like, yo, like, I've seen this website before. I was like, no. And it was teachaway.com. Okay. And she was just like, I remember you tried to fill this. So 2008, I graduated with my 2 bachelors, and that was just for fun. I was just like, I want to travel. And I was like, let me just do a 6 months to a year. Then I was like, this is stupid, and I closed it. 2011 later, after I go and get my master's, after the debacle of just like transitioning out of the whole being a lawyer thing, I end up on that same website. So I was like, my sister, I'm telling you, you've been on here. So I click, forgot password, and I kid you not, I had started an account. Wow. So I finished filling the account. I put in my resume, and I was just like, okay, whatever. God, you do what you got to do. Then I get a call, and it's like, hi, this is Jody Jennings from China. I was like, what? I think you got the wrong number, so I hung up. Not realizing. So she calls me back, and she's like, hello, is this Ms. Kettelene? And she can't really say my Kettelene. And I was just like, okay. I was like, at the time, Ashton Kutcher was out. I thought I was getting punked. Okay, yeah. So I was like, who really is this? Am I getting punked? And she's like, did you submit your resume to teachaway.com? I was like, yeah, I did. How did you know? She's like, it was not a good start for who was going to be my future principal, as a matter of fact. Okay. So she's like, hi, I'm at a school in China. Can we set up a form? She's like, I emailed you. And I thought it was a joke, so I deleted the email. And she's like, I emailed you 2 weeks ago, but I didn't get a response. Because I was like, China? I was like, God wouldn't send me to China. Right. And so I ended up talking to her for like 2 hours. And then next thing I know, paperwork goes, well, I didn't tell my family. I kept it a secret for 9 months. Wow. Because my mom and my dad and everybody else would not want me to move to China. We're a very close family in regards to that. I'm the first of 8. So, we just decided. My parents are very happy people they were. I remember sitting my family down and going, hey, prayed about it. I'm moving to China. My mom said, no, you're not. And she started laughing. I was like, Ma, I'm moving to China. And I remember showing her my ticket, and she's like, she called the whole family, everybody. She's like, it was like intervention and trying to convince people not to let you go type of thing. And I remember going to my pastor and my mentor, and she was just like, I don't believe everything worked out for no reason. Yeah. I could see God's hand moving in this. So all I can say is, what do you need us to do to help you to get to China? And then I ended up in China. And then how did I end up in Taiwan? God again. Yeah. I was like, okay. So again, I threw it out there. I was just like, okay, I'm going to send out my resume. Taiwan picked me and Korea picked me. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the country that's the cheapest to move all my stuff because I didn't want to buy new stuff. So then I just put it in to the shipping company, and it was matched up. It was $200 less, and that's how I went up in Taiwan.
Well,
so it
that
was
$200 brought you here.
And I remember landing. I was like, am I in Thailand or Taiwan? Which one is it? I had absolutely no background about where I landed, what the people was going to be like, what the setting was going to be like.
That's
as
crazy.
much as like I literally walked into Taiwan by faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a crazy journey. So it was hard. But the people of Taiwan made the transition. Like my coworkers, the friends I made, my church family, Bread of Life, made it so easy. Like I was just like, and then, you know, like the whole MRT thing and getting places. Yeah. Like I'm from Miami, you need a car. Yeah. So here I was just like, they're like, hey, you could just buy a Easy card and you could go anywhere. And I thought it was a lie. So every time I hit it, it was like, you know, like, it's like,
this thing actually
it works. Yeah. I was just like, so I ended up loving Taiwan. Been here 5 years now. And I'm like, Bacanese, that's what I say it. Yeah. I got my APRC. I was just like, so yeah, it's been the past 5 years has been an amazing journey as an educator. In Asia. What I've accomplished as an educator, I don't believe I could have done it in the US as much as like I heard from educators, the struggle was so real during COVID.
I got you. Yeah.
The transition period going online and everything else. Our school, Kang Chiao, did a pretty good job. I mean, we did struggle. You know, I caught COVID, had to be online, like, you know, red eyes and all. But to have been in Taiwan when this happened, one of the safest places in the world.
Absolutely.
I believe like in faith. And that I was protected. And but not only that, I look back from, as I'm telling you this story, I'm like, wow, for such a time as when God's like, go get your master's in education, I didn't realize that 15 years later, this would be like my exit ticket from a pandemic, from a country that's just right now in the U.S., you know, they're struggling. And now I'm here and I've grown as an educator, as a person, as a Christian. So it's nice. Now I'm on a show talking to you about my journey and I'm just like, whoa.
Hindsight 2020.
Yeah. So it's kind of awesome to be here, to be able to talk about that journey because I think for people marginalized like myself that come from a family that's just like, you don't have much. You come to a new country and even coming here to Taiwan, it's just like, what do I do next? It's a different language. It's hard to adjust your way of thinking, your way of living, to which having had gone through that, this was my third time, it doesn't get easier as much as it's different. So education, I would have to say to people that ask about, do I want to be an educator, or students that wonder, you know, what is my teacher like? We're human. Yes. And those that want to be an educator, that want to come into the education field, it is a journey. Yeah, for sure. One day at a time is how you have to take it. And if you are called to the international sector, you have to be willing to be flexible. You have to be willing to readjust yourself. You have to throw out your old culture and bring in the new and even mesh it together. Like I celebrate Christmas and Chinese New Year. There's no way in hex I'm taking out Chinese New Year after this. I'm just like red packet, hot pot, welcome. And then Christmas is just like the whole, you know, bring out the meat, bring out the rice and all that, and let's exchange gifts. So I've learned to really incorporate both cultures together as an educator, but that comes from having that open mindset. Yes, absolutely. You have to have that. Well, that's so cool. Like, it's crazy, like how, as you're just sharing this story, like I had all these questions prepared, but like you've captured so many things that, you know, we've wanted to talk about. But I guess like to sort of like close off too, I like to ask you, you know, with your education system that you've experienced in the States and what you've experienced here in Taiwan as well, what would you say is some of the biggest difference that you found, maybe in mentality? And then maybe you could also touch on, you know, what it's like even for the teacher-parent relationship, because I'm sure that's a whole new dynamic, you know, that maybe a lot of us don't think about. So what does that look like in terms of like the student's life, of you having to adjust Asia, Western culture, and then also with the parents? Like, how do they deal with you guys as teachers? I like the Asian culture in a sense that if you don't lose face, you have face. What does that mean? It's just like your reputation supersedes you. So depending on what you have brought to the table and the gains that you've allowed yourself to have with your student in regards to their grades going up, in regards to them being more positive about getting an education, I tend to, within my classroom, I tend to have a lot of critical thinking, collaborating, organizational skill-based assignments.
Yeah.
I do what's called the multiple intelligence test, which I identify musical learners, visual learners, and then gear my lesson towards that. So a lot of my students tend to accelerate when it comes to their academic standing in my class because of that strategy that I take with them, for them and with them, I should say. And so parents tend to want their students to be one with a Black teacher because it's an international school. They want their children to get exposure to different cultures. And the fact that I'm Haitian, they don't even know what that means. Yeah. And that fascinates them.
Right.
I remember she was like, "You Asian?" I'm like, "No, I'm Haitian."
Yeah.
And she's like, like,
hey is Black in Mandarin.
So I was just like, oh, no, this isn't going anywhere. So I had to like bring my, like on my PTCs, I was like, island next to
with
Cuba with the H. And like, oh, Caribbean. I was like, yes. So I tend to say I'm Caribbean than Haitian as well. But the relationship with the students here, I call it the latching. They tend to latch to teachers that are more open-minded. I have what's called, they call it, Ms.K, can we come to your therapy session? Like during my lunch and breaks, sometimes I can't even nap. Because they'll be like, I'm in this relationship. And I was like, I feel like I'm Mrs. Field.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Field. I was just like, so I like the dynamics of the teacher-parent relationship because it's about you are the one that sets the foundation.
Yes.
I feel like in the U.S., it's just kind of like they just throw anything at you.
Gotcha.
While Asian,
you take it or leave it.
While Asian parents tend to kind of like give you the benefit of the doubt and trust you with their child, and then as they see you, you produce, they respect you for it. Yeah. Same thing with our students. Our students will know; they'll tell you, "She don't care, Ms. K," or "I know you care, Ms. K." Yeah. To which, like, it's all about what you put out there. And most of the time, because I help hire teachers for Kang Chiao. I also mentor them, and we also train them. And I tell the teachers all the time, I was like, you have to give your best spiel the first day. Yeah. Your first week sets the foundation for the rest of the school year.
Yeah, you set the tone.
Yeah, you set the tone. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you, like, yes, be hard, stern, but also show love, show kindness, show respect to the students, because they have to know that you care. Yeah. They have to know that you're there to help them to become a better version of themselves. At the same time, though, make sure you're the adult in the room. Yes. Type of thing. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to transition from the U.S. to which, like, I got cussed out one time. And then, we had alerts and words. Like, I got an email, like, there's a gun on campus, and you had to, like, close the door. And, like,
this is in America, right?
This is in America, yeah. I worked in the hood, too. Two of the most, one of the schools, actually, the neighborhood, it had the highest homicidal rate in the U.S. at the time. And I remember a student of ours, it was another teacher's student, Popcorn was his nickname, and he got shot. And I remember driving to school thinking, please, I wouldn't check the news and be thinking, please don't let it be one of my students. If anybody got shot, it's sad to say that would be my Mondays, like just praying that over the weekend I didn't have a dead student. So which here I have conversations like, the test was so hard. And I was just like, yeah, you're not going to die tomorrow, then the test is so hard. Wow, so the dynamics of that are very different, but still challenging. Yes. Kids, whether it's getting shot at or literally having hours of work to do, if the parent does not intercede and provide them with the mental, emotional health that they need to process whatever season they're in, I find that that's what becomes more detrimental. It's not the environment as much as like who's in it and what are they doing about it for the child. Yeah. So I did have students in the U.S. when I saw the parent support provided, their mindset and their life was like they were completely different from another student. Right. And the same here in Asia. So a lot of the parents that I do meet, I said, you are the one that can set the next 4 years for your child, depending on your involvement and the support that you provide to them. Yeah. So being an educator, they say we're labeled as that, but we're like therapists. Yeah. I have like several, I call them the vacuum counselor. I call them the vacuum cleaners. I have snacks in my class. I literally, like every break, they're like, Ms. K, can I get a snack? I was like, sure, what do you got? So I'll be like, they're like, Ms. K, you're PX Smart. I was like, thanks, yeah. Come and get it. 7-Eleven PX Smart. So we're we have a lot of titles behind being an educator, but it's something that I'm passionate about, that I'm called to, and I want to stay there and continue to grow, not just for myself, but for my students and those that will encounter me in my life. So it is something that's become my DNA.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. Two things I kind of want to end off with here just by saying is that I know, like, when it comes to the parents aspect, I know that we mentioned, you know, it's very stressful, especially in an Asian environment and, you know, differently compared to what you're describing for the States. But I think, like, we do receive, because I also grew up partially here in the Asian system, and there's a lot of pressure with, you know, like getting a good grade and, like, then, you know, 补习班, like doing all these extracurricular stuff. But I think recognizing the heart behind why our parents, or Asian parents particularly, push their kids, and the fact that they're involved, you know, I think that's a different perspective that we can take to say, you know, like, we should be grateful to have our parents, like, kind of worry about us that much and push us in that direction. Now, of course, I think a healthy balance is always a good thing for the future and for the kids and mental health and all those things. But yeah, I'm grateful for that regards with the Asian culture. And then the second thing, honestly, just I think it's incredible to hear all the work that you've been doing, and even just hearing your background and what you've been through to get you to the point you are right now. Again, it's amazing to look back to see how far we've come. But that gives us, you know, more perspective in, like, how far we could go. And I believe every part of your journey in, you know, God shifting you and pushing you at a different stage, you know, built you up to prepare you for that next phase. And so it's incredible the work that you're doing. I think, I'm sure all the children and students are blessed, and even including the parents, to have you as an educator. And I know how effective and how impactful a good educator is in, you know, a child's life. And so I guess, like, I'm not a child anymore, but thank you for, you know, the work that you've been doing, and we wish you all the best and continue to keep up the good work.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like work, but yes, we will. I will.
Well, so this will cover our first episode with Ms.K, the teacher aspect. And we will have a next episode where we're going to talk more about identity stuff, because clearly we have a lot to share and a lot to unpack there still. And so stay tuned for the second episode. But until then, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.